Welcome to the Newbie Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm Jonathan Boyle with my co-host Joey Chan, and today we have public adjuster and special guest Robert Bura. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me.
Hey, Robert, welcome to the show. Can you give our audience a little bit about yourself, kind of your background and sort of quick overall you do? And then we'll get more into the detail. We'll break it down.
I'm what's called a public adjuster. I started this a little over 2 years ago. I actually have a background for the last 40 years in IT technology, computer networking solutions. I worked Kodak for many years. I worked for Rico for many years. I laid off from Rico twice within about a 3-year period. First time I was laid off for the privilege of staying with Rico. I took a 30% pay cut, kept my benefit. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to find something. I'd been looking for another job, something to do part-time, full-time, to be my own boss. And I ran into public adjusting, which I had never heard of, at a job fair. And the person, Paul, who signed me up, is not only my friend for life, he's actually the first person I can ever call truly a mentor. And I would not be in this business to the capacity I am right now. Now, trying to make this the rest of my life kind of position. My job is to help people. My job is to teach people. My job is to educate people on things they're not even aware of that they need help in educating on. A public adjuster is licensed by the Banking Insurance Commission of the state they practice in to basically be a public advocate for the policyholder in all matters regarding to property insurance, that is residential and commercial. People don't understand how insurance works. You buy a house, you get an insurance policy, you throw it in the filing cabinet with your tax papers and your mortgage and everything. You pay one premium and you never think about it again. However, the problem is the policies that you have, over 90% of people's policies are incorrect. I didn't say wrong, I said incorrect. When I say incorrect, I'm referring to the fact that they have gaps in their insurance policies. Their house may be insured for $500,000, but they only have $350,000 of liability. Or they may have a 2%, which is $10,000 on a $500,000 home, for a wind deductible or hail deductible. People don't understand that when you buy a home, especially when you have a mortgage, you have a responsibility, a fiscal responsibility to maintain the value of that property. So should something happen to your property, you have an insurable interest in maintaining the house, get the house back to pre-loss condition, pre-loss value, especially if you have a mortgage, that you have that fiduciary responsibility. The problem is you get insurance from an insurance company. At last counts, independently, anywhere from $1.2 to $1.5 trillion of cash in the bank. These insurance companies do not have the insurable interest to get your house back. Your insurance policy is nothing more than an annuity for them. An average homeowner, an average business owner over 30 years spends well over $30,000 a year for nothing because they don't know how to utilize it. They don't understand their policy. That money goes into the pockets of the CEOs who give themselves multi-million-dollar bonuses. I ask you, would that money be better spent in their pockets or yours? So by teaching you and educating you, I tell people, give me 25 minutes and your declaration pages, and I will give you an educational policy review, even if I can't help you, that will give you a skill set, a knowledge set that you've never had before and didn't even realize that you didn't have before. I will get a bunch of holy cows. That's crazy. You got to be kidding me. Or the favorite is, where the heck were you 2 years ago when blank happened to me and I had all this money? Most people have damage to their homes that are thousands of dollars that they don't even realize they're entitled to money because they don't understand how property insurance works. They don't understand what's insurable. So I teach people the truth about how insurance works. The biggest misinformation perpetuated by the insurance company is don't put a claim in unless it's catastrophic because your rates will go up. Will most likely go up, or you might even potentially be dropped. I'm here to tell you based on legislation, you may be entitled, notice my words, I use a lot of if, should, could, woulds, and mights. You may be entitled to as many as 3 claims every 5 years without your rates going up. I had a tree fall in my house in 2015. Got about $18,000. My insurance, my mortgage, everything was escrow. I didn't know any better. I happened to open up 2 years later my annual declaration page and noticed my insurance had gone up to nearly $3,000 a month in my house. I'd been in the house at that point for like 19 years. I didn't expect it to be at the $900 it was, but I didn't expect it to be near $3,000. I called up my friendly neighbor, be politically correct here, my friendly neighbor, a 3rd-generation insurance agent. I asked him, I said, hey, blank, why my rates gone through the roof? He said, without missing a beat, Robert, we paid you how many thousands of dollars a few years ago? You've got to pay it back somehow. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. So a year later, when I started studying for public adjusting and I learned the truth, I got the insurance company to write me back a letter of apology for a bookkeeping error, refund me almost $2,000, and restore my rates back to pre-loss. I mean, back to the pre-loss value of my policy. I of course dropped them faster than fill in the blank. But that's what the insurance companies prey on people not understanding. Okay, so here's another thing. Never ever call your insurance company for anything other than make a change to your policy. Why? Because if you call and discuss something that's going on in your house or something other than change, they will most likely consider that a claim. It's called a non-payout claim. 60% approximately of the first phone calls made to the insurance company about a claim is denied. That recording you get, this call is being monitored for teaching and educational purposes, is insurance speak for if we catch you with as little as one word, we're going to deny or minimize your claim. Here's an example. Water is the number 1 peril for damage to people's homes. Okay? Water in many cases is excluded by itself. So let's say, Joey, your water heater breaks and you flood your basement. You're going to call the insurance company and you're going to tell them that. And they're going to say, is everybody okay? And you're going to say, yes, everybody's okay. I hate to inform you, but your claim is denied. What do you mean? I've got insurance. Well, your water heater's not included in your policy, and you don't have flood insurance. You have homeowners insurance. I'll take that every day of the week because what you actually had was an accidental discharge of water from an enclosed pipe connected to the water heater. And as a result of the accidental discharge of water, here's a list of all the damages that occurred. It's subtle. It's worded. You know that Progressive commercial when Flo is in the jungle and they come up to a clearing and they come up to the table and all these insurance people and they can't talk, whatever, and then they throw out the term actuary tables and they welcome them into the tribe. That's what it's all a matter of words. When you sign your insurance policy, it is a policy. When you go to enforce it because you have a loss, it is a contract. So technically, we are doing contract negotiation. On average, an insurance company will only give you 25 to 40 cents on the dollar. In addition to that, they will make you prove everything that's going to be done or has done, and they will drip and drab the money to you. They control the money. But no, that's not how insurance works. But because you don't know any better, you take it from the insurance company and you go through their hoops. With us, we get our clients to control the money. Let's say I get you $10,000 or $15,000 settlement. I will get you all or most of that, a good percent of it, up front without proving anything. Why? Because I mentioned before, you have an insurable interest in your property. The insurance company doesn't. Therefore, they have no right. If there's a settlement, they owe you the settlement. There may be depreciation or cash value versus a replacement value taken out before you do work. But in many cases, we get people most of the money.
Okay. Can I ask you?
That actually reminds me. I believe I worked with someone from Metro Public Adjusters a couple years ago when I bought when I had I still have it, but my 2-family in Irvington. Basically the same situation you mentioned, like a pipe burst. It wasn't noticed until like next morning, and like the basement was flooded.
Accidental discharge of water.
Yes. Yes. Accidental. Yeah. That
I'm trying to train you.
I didn't speak to the insurance company. I actually I asked people on Facebook, and someone connected me with Metro Public Adjuster, and he told me the same thing.
If you have let's say a roof leak, a roof that's 7 years old, and the roof leak was slow and wasn't discovered until, let's say, today. It's been leaking for, say, a month or two, and you didn't notice it because there's insulation in the ceiling, and now your drywall in the ceiling is all molded up. What is the procedure for something like that, or what's the correct wording?
So anytime water enters the home from above the ground, it has the potential to be an insurable claim. Okay? If the mold in your home is from the basement where it's dark and it's damp and the water's coming in from below the ground, that's not insurable.
Okay.
I actually had a case where one day, this house in Woodcliff Lakes, the painting, one of these little $1 million mansions. Well, nothing's little about $1 million mansion, but the painting fell off in the great room. It turned out the wall was moist. The other side was the kitchen. The wall was moist. It turns out he had an ongoing leak from the roof for a period of time, but because he would never go up there, had no reason to go, no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Insurance company sent in a mitigation company. Nothing happened for literally 6 months. No one ever from the insurance company ever showed up. I'm hired. I come in, we write a claim, and the insurance company agrees that everything here is an insurable claim. In addition, the mitigation company cracked the porcelain tile in the kitchen, which goes into the living room and the hallway, probably about 1,600 square feet, probably about $20,000 worth of damage. And in the great room, they scratched up the floor, which is probably another $5,000 to $10,000. Okay, they agreed to everything. 29 days later, they have 30 days to respond. We got a letter denying. That claim is in court right now. But the point of my story is, give you an idea. I have a house we just did an inspection with last week. Turns out the roof is not in great shape. You really can't get them much for the roof. However, on the far side, we discovered, my field adjuster discovered what is hail damage. And we went back and we looked on December 30th in Morris County. There was a hailstorm in the Kinnelon, Butler, Franklin Lakes, Pompton Lakes area. So we just put a claim in for a hail. So it doesn't have to happen so for example, it's the first time you notice it, so if you call me about you have a leak, and it's been going on for a little bit of period of time, April 1st is the first time I noticed this leak. Here's another example. Let's say we're in the summer and everybody's been home this past summer for lockdown, and the beaches all of a sudden are open, and you decide you're going to go to the beach for the day with the family. It's supposed to be in the low 90s, low humidity, no chance of no thunderstorms in the forecast. So you know what? I'm paying a lot of money for air conditioning. I'm going to turn the air conditioning off while I'm gone, and I'm going to leave all the windows open in the top floor of the house just to let it air out while I'm away. Well, New Jersey is famous for those late afternoon, early evening thunderstorms that pop up. So let's say second floor has got a nice carpeting, and the carpeting runs through the whole second floor. There's no breaks, and it's all the same carpeting. Sure. Let's say one of those rooms is in one corner of the house, and that's where the wind was blowing, and that room got wet. The carpeting got wet. Well, you ever walk on a carpeting where it buckles when you walk? Kind of like buckles up, guys. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so because under the carpeting is like a plastic or rubber, once that gets wet, it starts to disintegrate. It's called the lamination. That's what causes the buckling. The only way to bring the house back to pre-loss condition is to replace that carpeting. So the insurance company may argue and say, we're going to bring Serve Pro or whatever mitigation company in, and we're going to dry and deodorize the carpets. No. That doesn't bring the house back to pre-loss condition. So let's say I don't match, I don't repair, I don't fix, I don't upgrade. I only get properties back to pre-loss. So let's say the insurance company agreed to just replace that one room. Maybe it's the smallest room in the house, just 8 by 10 or whatever, an office. Sure. A 5 by 10 office. You go to sell that house a couple of years from now, and that carpeting is different. Notice my words, different. than the carpeting in the rest of the house upstairs where it runs, someone's going to ask, why is this carpeting different? You have to disclose. You have not maintained the value of that property. I would make the case to the insurance company to replace all the carpeting in that floor. That's the only way to get something back to pre-loss condition. One scratch, one nick, it's just amazing. Fire claims are big. If you know anybody that owns a fireplace and is currently using or has used their fireplace over a prolonged period of time, they most likely have some type of smoke damage in their home. The wood or the plastic candles, the Duraflame logs, they create a smoke that is carcinogen, and the insurance companies will pay to have that professionally cleaned, deodorized, repainted. Okay, that's usually in the tens of thousands of dollars. And anybody who has a fire, and they can say, well, yeah, I used to use the fireplace for years, but I haven't used it in the last 5 years. Well, you know what? Unless they've professionally cleaned the fireplace in their house, there's a chance that soot and that carcinogen is still in the house, or maybe the window could blow it across. It's tens of thousands of dollars. And again, because I don't preach improper use, but I also tell you, once you get that money, you're an adult, you can do whatever you want with that money, if you understand what I'm saying. So we just point out, real too close to the house last summer. Okay, I went to a house. You know what the end caps are on the roof, right, guys?
Yeah.
It turns out, the water damage, turns out that the end cap, we were missing 3 end caps, 3 or 4 end caps. And the damage was not that much. It was $2,000 or $3,000 at the most. Okay, not insurable claim. But I look at the deck and the back, and I see a piece of melted siding. So I said to her, Joan, whatever you call it, Joan. I said, I'm going to guess you used to have a grill up there, right? She goes, yeah. I'm going to guess you maybe had a party in the last year, and then maybe the grill was too close and it melted it, and you guys got so pissed off that you threw away the grill and decided, I'm never going to grill again. With the July 4th, 4th of July, New Year's, party. She goes, you got everything right except for the date. I got her $8,500 to get half of her house resided. Got her house active. And if your house is made of cedar or something that's no longer manufactured, that alone also.
If you have so passed all the inspections with the township, so HVAC system that was installed last year in one of your tenants' properties, or I mean in one of your, where one of your tenants lives, right? In the basement. Now, they didn't really mention much, but then you come to find out that all the sheetrock for the ceiling of the basement is soaked. Their HVAC doesn't work that well anymore. And it seems to be an error, the HVAC technician or whatnot, but obviously he disappeared. I guess what now? There's a lot of water on the floor, a lot of flies come by in the basement of that home. There is a sump pump and a French drain. There you go. So it's not, the argument for water from the underneath the ground is a moot point. It's all definitely from the HVAC system.
Yeah, it's coming from the ductwork. For some reason, it's just causing a lot of condensation from the ductwork.
Yeah.
So that's where all that water is coming from.
I've experienced that. And the sad news for you is that if the source, you have to look at the source of what's causing the problem. In any case, we always are looking for the source. And the way you're describing it to me right now, the source is faulty installation of HVAC.
I'm assuming, but it did pass all inspections with the township.
If it's determined, and early on, I had 2 houses in West Milford on the same day, mold on the second floor of the home. In both cases, when you go up to the attic, you have those 2 ventilation windows, the fans in the attic for ventilation.
Yes.
They were both sealed closed. Number 2, the insulation has to have, I don't forget how many inches back from the soffits so that the humidity in the water can get out. It was wall-to-wall insulation. That's contract and construction error. That's not covered under your policy. Okay. However, a lot of times when we go in for one problem, we very often may find something else completely different that you're not even thinking of. And that happens a lot when we come in and I'll find something, and then my field adjuster will come in. What I want to do is just take a step back, if you don't mind, talking about Metro and the differences, because it's related to this. So first of all, with Metro, we are the only nationwide public adjusting company in the country. Every other public adjusting company in the country are mom and pop, local, regional people. meaning they only have a certain amount of people to do work, okay? They only work on catastrophic losses. It's got to be six-figure range for them to even sniff it, okay?
Yeah.
They only have a certain amount of people, certain amount of bandwidth. So I put it to you, if you've got two contracts, no matter what you do, you have a really big contract and you got a really small client. A lot of times that small client will take up more time than the large one. You understand the point I'm trying to make?
Yes.
Right? So so these other public adjusting companies only have time to do stuff that makes financial sense for them. We are completely different. We are version 2.0. As I mentioned, we are the only nationwide. We can write a claim in basically in any state in the country because we're different in that I'm a public adjuster, but my role in the company is what's called the senior claims writer. My job is to teach and to educate people, evangelate, and find the potential for an insurable claim. So when you call your insurance company up, tell them about something, it's a claim. With us, it's not a claim. You agree to have us represent you. It's not a claim. The insurance company is only notified that we represent you. It's not a claim. That releases my field adjuster to come in and to take a look at the problem and do a full house inspection. Personally, because of my age and medical conditions, I'm not going anywhere. Normally, I would. So we offer you a free look, and if we determine that there's it's not an insurable claim, rather than have called an insurance company and getting a denial and putting that on your record, there's no contact to the insurance company. There's no notice. If we find something that's an insurable loss, like we went to look at, or something bigger, then we contact the insurance company. So we do things that other adjusting companies don't do. We'll do anything that makes financial sense for you and me, versus the catastrophic will only do things that make sense for them. We do free inspections. We do free policy reviews. We do all these kind of things that all the other insurance companies don't do. So we are in a completely different league. Oh, that's the league is right. We are a different version of public adjusting than anybody else. That type of claim you're talking about right now, a typical catastrophic adjuster wouldn't even sniff it, wouldn't get involved in it. It's just not worth his time. I'm here to teach and to educate people. The policy review is invaluable because we find things. There's no reason you should have a 2% deductible for high winds or storms. Okay, there's no reason that you shouldn't have inline coverage or codes and ordinances and variants. I go through a whole list as part of my review and educate people, get to basically find a policy that I could at least recommend one modification. And again, I'm licensed by the state. We're licensed by the state to be public advocates. So we have your best interest in heart. I'm not selling you anything. I cannot sell you anything. I can't even take any money out of your pocket.
So with this example, hypothetically, if it's found that it wasn't faulty work from the HVAC technician, then would that be something that's doable?
It all depends on the source of where it's coming from and your policy. Everybody's policies are different. So I'd have to look at the person's policy, and we'd have to determine the source of the water, where it is, and we would go from there. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
If it's not fault, I mean, and then again, a lot of times when we come to someone's house, for one thing, and it's not an insurable claim, we'll find something else completely. Do you mind if we walk around with our moisture meter and our smoke sponges and our flat? I mean, one piece of wood cupped in a kitchen because it's wet is potentially enough to get you the money to completely redo your floor, refinish your floors. And I'll give you an example. The last house that I physically went to on inspection. Well, it has to be, first of all, it has to be a first occurrence of something. So if I find damage in the floor and then I find damage around here, the insurance companies can go, you live with this, you can live with that. So in this house, I'm terrible with square footage. It was maybe 300 to 500 square foot kitchen. It wasn't a huge kitchen. You know how sometimes when you put a room in, sometimes you put down the fixtures and then you put the flooring around it. So a lot of times if you open a cabinetry, there might be no flooring inside the cabinetry or minimal flooring. Yes. And other times the flooring is put in and then everything's put on top of it. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in this case, there was a scratch behind the refrigerator. And then he told me he pulls the freezer out twice a year to clean out behind there, and he caused the scratching. So my first reaction is, well, there's not enough here to be damaged. But when I looked at the cabinetry and the appliances, the flooring was put in. So the only way to get the floor to fix the scratch was to refinish the entire floor, including everything behind the cabinetry. So the only way to do that is to pull all the cabinetry and the cabinets out to get to the floor to repair it. Once you pull the cabinetry out and the cabinets out, you can't put it back because it may have a hairline fracture or a scratch or something. So it's got to be replaced. So most of the $8,000 to $12,000 we're getting him is going to be for the money in order for him to replace the cabinetry once the work is done. Is he going to have that work done? I don't think or keep the money. I don't know. I don't go to his house on an everyday basis. I've never been to his house before. I don't know what he's going to do. I just give people the money.
And we definitely sell him the cabinets if he needs.
I am not allowed to refer anybody directly.
No, I understand.
Here's three people that I know of who do quality work, and call them and see which one you may or may not want to use. Oh, which one would you use? Well, they're in numeric order for a reason. That's all I can say. Follow what I'm saying. So that, that's how it works. But it's just amazing what people don't know. The misinformation. Hey, let me give you an example. Let's say you have a 15 or 16-year-old daughter, and they come home 2 hours past curfew on a Friday or Saturday night, and you practice bad parenting 101. Good parenting 101 is go to your room. We'll talk about this in the morning. You may be high, you may be drunk. I don't know. I maybe had a couple of glasses of wine. Nothing good's going to come of this. Let's just reset and talk tomorrow. That's what a 101 good parenting is. But of course, most of us don't follow that. You get into an argument with your child. And let's say you're too close to the wall and you release some energy and you punch a hole in the wall, or you punch a clock, or as a result, your cabinet comes flying down or something, or you do it in multiple rooms because one punch, is not much damage. Would you consider that to be an insurable claim?
Probably not.
Yeah, I would go with no.
An insurable claim is any physical damage to your property that is non-intentional and is not excluded. That is 100% included. That potential for an insurable claim. Does it make financial sense, or do you want to be the dumbass that goes to insurance company that says I punched the hole in my wall? But something that's like people don't understand what is insurable. That is completely potentially based on your policy, an insurable loss. See, people just have no clue. That's what keep going back to my educational policy review. I show them examples of things that are completely insurable that people have no clue about. Bathrooms. Okay, let's talk about bathrooms. Any bathroom that's pre-1976. That date sticks in my mind because that's the year I graduated high school. So when I heard that, it stuck in my mind. The tiling most likely has got lead in it. And the backing that it's on it, that's sticking in the wall, it's got asbestos. That's an abatement. Anytime toilet water leaves the toilet, it's called class 3 water. Potentially the only way to clean that is to pour it up and replace it. In some cases, bleach won't even do it. No, I've been into bathrooms that cost half of what my house is in some fancy neighborhoods here in New Jersey. And some other, some people make it like, it's like hotel suites to bath. So it all depends on the situation and the condition. Everything is conditional. It's based on your policy, and it's better to have. Now, I'm not going to mention a name on a podcast like this, but there are 4 specific insurance companies that we consider to be the worst insurance companies in the country. When I'm talking about, they're also the ones that spend the most amount of money on advertising. So you could probably easily come up with 2 or 3 of them, but I'm not going to have that conversation on a podcast like this. And when I'm saying they're bad, is these companies pull all kinds of crap. So when you have damage, you are responsible to mitigate within reason the damage to avoid further, property damage to your house. But you have how should I put this? You have a responsibility in a reasonable period of time to report that. It could range from hours to days based on your insurance company, your adjuster, and your policy. We've had claims denied I've had a claim denied because my client did not notify the insurance company within a day of the damage, and they denied it on that. My field adjuster pointed out to them that we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. The easy way is you pay up what you should be paying up and stop this bold, about amount of time because your company recently lost a multi-million-dollar class action lawsuit for exactly why you're denying the claim. We can potentially take you to court for triple damages if you fail to negotiate in good faith. Within a week, my client had not all, but a good percent, and it's an ongoing claim right now. We're trying to get more money out of them. It's just criminal. So I always joke. I say, if Tony Soprano owned an insurance company, it would not be anywhere of interesting a TV show, but he would be a hell of a lot wealthier than he was.
Can I ask you another question, Robert?
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
So going back to that, let's say burn sighting, right? I use that as an example. What if and also relating to the time period, right? What if the previous homeowner did not report that, and you as a new homeowner, are you allowed to report that?
Okay, so for something, you have to have an insurable interest in order to have a claim. An insurable interest means you own the property when the damage occurred. So if you bought a house and they missed it on a home inspection, it's not insurable because the damage occurred not when you owned the house, not when you had an insurance claim on it. We will go back in general 1 year on a claim, whether it's been paid out or denied, or 2 years on a fire claim. Once you get past that 1 and 2 year period, the percent of success diminishes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
That's why I try to get in front of as many real estate agents as I can, as many inspectors. I hire people to work with me. We have an aspect of multi-level marketing in that I hire people to work with me. I train the people, and I get a percent on top of what they get. But we're not selling anything, so there's no quota like Amway or Avon where you have to spend X amount of dollars. So you do whatever you do. I actively go after home inspectors because they're inspecting the home for different reasons than we inspect the home. So they're actually leaving thousands of dollars. So the elevator pitch for real estate people is everybody, and it doesn't apply right now completely. You don't understand when I finish because of how crazy the real estate market is and everybody getting more than they're asking for. But everybody always wants to get as much money for their properties as possible. It goes without saying. They want to get as much money. The real estate want to get as much commission. However, once they do their due diligence and they start looking at the house, they find issues that bring the value of what they think they can get for the house for, because it's good. They've got to do this work. They've got to do that work. It brings it down. What I can do is help them find money to address some of those issues or address other issues to either get it repaired to bring the house value back, or take the lower money value for the house and take this money and run with it. And in addition to that is, let's say, Joey, you're showing me homes, and you don't represent most people who are selling a home or who are buying a home or selling a home, a decent percent, and 70% approximately of people go with the first real estate agent they speak to as a listing agent. I've gotten that from multiple sources, anywhere from 60 to 75%. So if you're a second or a third, your chances are lower that you're going to get that listing. But I could say, hey, Joey, I know I don't represent your house that you're selling. I'm only trying to help you find a house in this neighborhood. However, I've got a guy. Let him take a look at your home. Maybe he can find some money in your home to do it. So it's both ends to candles, potentially. I mean, there's some issues there, but that's a generalization. So I love real estate agents.
I'm sure once you get them the money, they also love you.
I've gone in to Keller Williams, Realty Executives, Century 21s, Remaxes, and I've done education classes for the realtors. I give them knowledge and a skill set that helps them step apart from other people. That's why I love them. And of course, most real estate agents own homes, so they're going to want me to do their homes and review their policies and take a look at their homes. And I call that eating when I'm cooking, because once you've actually experienced what I do, then you can talk from knowledge, and hopefully you've had a good experience and maybe even found you some money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You guys learning anything today? I know you guys knew other people from Metro, but if I taught you anything you didn't know before?
I think, well, you've taught me a lot. The thing is, a lot of the stuff you did mention as well, I forgot, I guess you could say. So you re-taught me.
No, the right answer is I'm teaching you a hell of a
No, definitely we learned a lot for sure. So I myself am a home inspector, so I can spot a lot of the issues, but I don't know if the issues, the biggest thing is that for me is I don't know if the issue is an insurable claim or not, and what determines it.
exactly. That was my point, that you don't know.
Yes.
So I will say to you offline, I want to talk to you about coming to work with me, because you're probably leaving money on the table every time you do a home inspection, and I can show you how to get thousands of dollars in your pocket for helping the homeowner.
That sounds great. I definitely think that any realtor or investor should really add you to their repertoire.
Portfolio. Yeah.
Or
I have
contact.
several real estate offices that have me review either immediately or within 6 months, because you have to own the property for 6 months
Sure.
before you can put a claim in. Okay, so if you buy something and you can't put a claim in that first couple of weeks, insurance companies frown on that, could say it was there before. It opens up a whole can of worms. So I have a couple that include my information in their kits, their home buyer's kit, which includes, which restaurants to go. They include my information, and several of them actually actively tell their clients before they sign their policy, they should have them talk to me.
Wow.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's definitely something, more people should do now that we know.
I'm just curious. This would be mostly for like renters or homeowners insurance, not for like builder's risk or anything.
This is insurance property for commercial and residential. We do renters, but usually a renter's policy is very limited. It's for your personal possessions or something. We do condos and co-ops, but again, that's a whole other issue, because there's a common area versus your area. So we don't really do much in renters. I'll do boat insurance. I'll do RV. If you live in it, basically, then we'll work with you. I mean, renters. I mean, how much?
Yeah,
you
no,
gonna have?
I misspoke. I meant for like a rental of mine, for example.
Right, but make sure you have the right policy. Make sure you have a dwelling policy. If you have a property and you're not living in it,
That's what it is.
and you have a homeowner's policy, you have the wrong policy, and nothing is covered if there's a loss, most likely. You need to have a dwelling policy. I had a client who took her 10 months to get a tenant out in Bernardsville because she got pregnant and she was a tenant from hell. I went in 2 years ago, Labor Day, at 7 o'clock in the morning with the marshals and a locksmith, and get in there. We found damage, and she actually had left the day before, damage in every part of the house. She had the right policy. She had called a DP3 policy. However, in typeface so small, you need a Hubble telescope to read it. It said, damage due to tenants not included. Why have a policy then?
Right.
Wow.
That's why I'm saying I want to get hold of as many people as I can. I want to help them before they have a problem. And when they have a problem, I'm there and I want to help them. And I tell them, don't call the insurance company. I wrote, I had when tropical storm Isaias hit last month. Actually, it was this month, right? It was beginning of September.
Beginning, yeah.
Took a look at 10 trees falling on house cases. Oh, by the way, let me ask you, here's a question. Here's another question. You didn't know there'd be a quiz on here. If a tree on your neighbor's property falls on your house, who's responsible?
You are.
You are.
The house the tree falls on is the person who's responsible for the insurance claim.
Yeah.
Unless there can be situations where you've notified the tenant, the owner, or you've notified the town that this tree is dead and it's an imminent problem, then there may be a situation where you can go after them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But so getting back to my point, I had 10 people come to me. I was only able to I couldn't write 10 claims. Why? Because people may have had that 2% deductible for high wind. It's supposed to a named storm. Can't help you on that. I had one woman. This woman called me. Her mom's house, part of her roof blew off. Okay, take a look at her policy. I'm like, where's the policy? That's a renter's policy. She's had a renter's policy for over 30 years on her property. I couldn't help her.
Oh my God.
Wow.
70-year-old woman has no way to get her roof repaired. She thought she had insurance. That's just that borders on I don't know what I want to say in a broadcast versus in person. That's just criminal. That's just negligence on the part of the agent who wrote that policy.
My God.
We see these horror stories, Joey, all the time. It's like I told you, it's criminal what the insurance companies do.
Mm-hmm.
So by contacting us as an independent, licensed and bonded by the state, we're no risk to you. Now, everybody we talk to doesn't agree with what we're doing. So the example I use is John, if you're on the street corner giving out $100 bills, there's going to be at least one person who's going to doubt your motives, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's always people who are doubting us, who are I call them insurance brain dead. They believe the Kool-Aid, the insurance companies. So you know what? You don't believe it? That's fine. I want to go on to somebody else, because over 90% of the people, 95% of the people I talk to want to hear what I have to say, and other people from my company want to say.
Yeah, people don't realize, like, you have their best intention in mind. You almost have like a fiduciary responsibility in the sense.
Oh, so there's a good thing you brought this thing I forgot to mention. So the objections we get, because we charge anywhere from 10 to 35% of what the claim is. So people say on a small claim, a $10,000 claim, it's going to be 35%. You're telling me that I can't get my house fixed because the insurance company is going to offer me pennies on the dollar, but you're going to take 35% and only leave me with 65%. How am I supposed to get my property fixed at 65%? That's an objection we get every day, all the time. It's the biggest objection we get. And it's really easy to address that. I'm telling you that we will get you on average 3 to 6 times more money than you would. So what I'm getting you is this. So 65% of this is better than 100% of this. Number two, if there's a situation where we need more than 2 crafts involved, let's say a tree falls on a house, we need a tree people to remove the tree. We need a roofing company to fix the roof. Maybe the skylight is busted, or maybe there's a leak in the house. It's a third craft. We're able, under law, to add 20% for overhead expenses. That's our overhead expenses. So a $10,000 claim now becomes a $12,000 claim. So that 35% now becomes 15%. Follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So most tree falling on houses like that, fall into that category, because it's not just a tree in the roof. There's usually collateral damages on somewhere else, to the property. So that's how we do. And the other thing I want to mention, because I always mention it, well, 2 things. Number one, if you do your due diligence and you go out and you Google Metro Public Adjustments or Public Adjusters, you're going to see mostly bad reviews from us. And of course, us, because we're the largest. So I'm asking not what you guys would do, but what do you think the common average person would do? Would they write a good review about something, or are they more apt to write a bad review?
More apt to write a bad review.
That's just human nature. So that's number one. Number two, we cost the insurance companies tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in profits, making them do the right thing. Don't you think they're going to do whatever they can get away with to troll us and make us look bad?
Sure.
Of course.
So I'm full disclosure, I have to let people just know that, because people watching this may say, oh, that sounds too good to be true. Let me go out and Google and see what the story is. And they're going to see bad stuff. So I just always tell that to everybody. The other thing I always ask people, including you guys, but it rarely happens, and I'm not saying that to put you in a place, but this is what happens, is if you think what I have to offer is of value, whether I'm able to physically help you or not, I ask you to go to your favorite social media of choice and write some type of good review, and then link me in on it so I can publish that as well. Because we need to do a better job with our good reviews versus all this bad stuff that is mostly bogus.
Absolutely. That brings me to my next question. How can people get in touch with you on social media?
Robert Bura, Public Adjuster, Robert Bura, Public advocate. Can I change my name here? I should have changed my name, put my email address in. It's Robert B as in boy .metro PA@gmail.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn as under Robert Bura, but my lead job is my IT job, but I do have my Metro in there. There is one other Robert Bura in the state of New Jersey, completely unrelated to me. I've never met him. And I do not believe he's in technology IT as well. So just look me up. My name's up there just on Facebook. Find me on LinkedIn. I have a Calendly link. We do everything electronically. I do these meetings electronically. We do our contracts electronically through DocuSign, and I issue people in person to come to people's houses to do the free inspections, physical inspections, if I'm able to find something that we believe might be an insurable loss, if not to find something else.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds great.
I urge people to have their policy reviewed, if not annually, every few years. I had a claim that I couldn't write for somebody. She showed me 3 years of her policies, not the current one, but 3 past years, $1,000 deductible. We found the claim, but it turns out, without her knowing it, the insurance company increased her deductible to $5,000 that current year. Couldn't help her.
Wow.
We see this stuff all the time. Your policies change year to year. If you look at a policy from 20 years ago, even 10 years ago to now, the amount of exclusions, the amount of limitations increases year after year. Don't even get me started on business interruption claims with COVID-19. That's a whole other show. What's going on with insurance companies doing that? We are representing companies with business interruption, but that's a whole other story than this.
Okay.
Yeah. No
All
problem.
right. Awesome. Thank you, Robert, for being on the show. It really means a lot.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you very much for this. I hope your podcast spreads virally throughout the nation, and that you guys become more and more successful with this. I've been toying around with doing some type of podcast or something myself. So just good luck. Thank you for having me. Anybody who wants to get hold of me, just Google me or find me on Facebook or LinkedIn, and I'd be more than happy with it. My whole thing is this stuff talks for itself. I'm not going to hound anybody about any of this. I may remind you gently because things happen, you forget. But if you contact me for a policy review, that's great. I'll do it, but I'm not going to hound anybody. I do this in the fact that this thing speaks for itself. I've in the past been accused of being a type A personality years ago when I was a salesperson. But to me, the beauty of what I do is I'm here genuinely to help people, to teach and educate people. Give me an opportunity to help you. In many cases, you don't even know. We talked about for the last, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, about how you don't even know or realize the help that a public adjuster at Metro can provide for you. And I hope you call me versus another one, but that's for obvious reasons. But thank you guys very much. And everybody stay safe, do what's comfortable for you. And let's all look out for each other. That's the biggest thing that this country can do. We all need to look out for each other. We all need to listen and respect each other. And with that, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Robert.
Take care, everyone.